Hi, this is Jared Deese from thereligionteacher.com. In the Old Testament, there's this book of Ruth that really is a touching story about love, about loyalty, and about salvation. Ruth is a Moabite. She is not a Jew. She's not an Israelite. And yet, she marries someone who is, and her husband dies. And he had a number of wives. One of the wives said, "Goodbye, I'm going back to my family." Naomi, the man's mother, says to Ruth, "Ruth, go be with your own people." And so here's Ruth, here's Naomi. And what does Ruth say? Rather than leaving Naomi on her own, she says, "Where you go, I will follow. Your God will be my God. Your people will be my people." So even though Ruth is not one of God's people, she says, because of this marriage, because of my love for you and my husband who have lost, I'm going to follow you. Your God will be my God. And it's significant because Ruth is actually the great-grandmother of King David. And so why is Ruth mentioned later on in the New Testament as one of the ancestors of Jesus? This is really important because Ruth is someone who isn't a part of God's people, but follows her family, follows Naomi, wants to be one of them as well. So it's one of the lessons that we can learn from this story. It's about salvation. Salvation through God's people for all. She was a Moabite, and yet she said, your God will be my God. Your people will be my people. So it's a question of King David, later on Jesus. It's a mission for all people, God's people throughout the entire world, not just this tribe of Judah, this tribe, the people of Israel. Another lesson here is just selflessness. Unlike the widow who leaves and goes back to her people, selfishly, Ruth stays with Naomi. And because of that decision, they go back to the people. Ruth finds a new husband and saves themselves, saves each other. They have a family, they have a life together, all thanks to that decision to go and follow Naomi back to her people. That there's a reward for selflessness, serving others, family, friends, selflessly loving others makes a big difference in our lives. And then finally, this idea of my God, this idea of God being personal, not just God, but my God. Your God will be my God. And that's so important when we think about religion, when we think about faith, when we think about Christianity, that what we're passing on isn't just some ideas, some acceptance of beliefs. It's the acceptance of a relationship that you have with God. I want that too. Your God will be my God. When we pass on the faith, it's not just a group of ideas. It is the acceptance of that relationship, that love that you have with God. I want that too. Your God will be my God. Your church will be my church. In our case, your people will be my people. So it's a beautiful short story in the Old Testament talking about an ancestor to King David, an ancestor to Jesus Christ. That Ruth shows that selfless love for others, and because of that, finds a good life within the Lord. And God sending his son to save not just the people of Israel, tribe of Judah, but all people. Ruth was Moabite. All people are being called into salvation. Go make disciples. God bless.